They say your life flashes before your eyes in your final moments. Mine didn't. It slowed down, second by second, heartbeat by heartbeat, the night I was taken. It started like any ordinary evening. I had just finished my shift at a local repair shop and was heading home. It was raining lightly, and the road shimmered beneath the streetlights. I remember stopping by a small convenience store to grab a snack, a quick 5 minutes that changed everything. When I got back to my truck, someone was waiting in the back seat. Before I could react, a cloth covered my mouth, and everything went dark. When I woke up, I was tied to a chair in a dimly lit basement. My head throbbed. My throat burned. I could hear muffled voices nearby, 2 men arguing. One of them said, "We just need to keep him quiet. The boss will decide tomorrow." I didn't know who they were or why I was there. All I knew was that my wrists were raw, and fear had settled deep in my chest like lead. Hours passed. No food. No water. Just the constant sound of a leaking pipe and footsteps above. That first night, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just listened, to every sound, every creak, every whisper, waiting for my chance. The next morning, they brought me a slice of bread and a bottle of water. That's when I saw it, a loose nail sticking out from one of the floorboards near my foot. It wasn't much, but it was something. I started working at it every time they left, slowly, carefully. My wrists bled, but I didn't care. Freedom was worth every drop. They thought I was broken. That I wouldn't fight back. They were wrong. By the third night, I had loosened one rope enough to slip my hand out. My pulse was racing. The timing had to be perfect. I waited until I heard the door upstairs slam shut. Then I pulled my hand free, untied my legs, and grabbed the rusty nail as a weapon, not much, but better than nothing. The basement door creaked open, and I moved silently through the narrow hallway. My heart pounded so loud I was sure they'd hear it. I could see a window, small, half-broken, but big enough to crawl through. I climbed onto a crate, pushed the glass out, and squeezed myself through. Cold air hit my face. For the first time in days, I was outside. I didn't stop running. Behind the house was a dense forest. I ran barefoot, branches tearing at my skin, rain soaking my clothes. I could hear shouting in the distance. They had discovered I was gone. The ground was muddy and uneven. I slipped, fell, got back up. Every breath burned. At one point, I hid under a fallen tree, trying to control my breathing as flashlight beams swept past. When they faded, I started moving again, slowly, carefully, until I found a river. The water was freezing, but I had no choice. I jumped in and let the current carry me downstream. By dawn, I dragged myself out of the river, shivering and exhausted. My clothes were torn, my body covered in cuts. And then, I saw a faint light in the distance. A cabin. Smoke rising from its chimney. I stumbled toward it and knocked on the door with the last of my strength. A man opened it, mid-40s, tall, kind eyes. He froze when he saw me. "Jesus, are you okay?" he said, pulling me inside. I could barely speak. I was kidnapped. He wrapped me in a blanket and handed me tea. Then he grabbed his phone and called the police without hesitation. His name was Tom. I still remember that. 30 minutes later, police sirens echoed through the forest. They surrounded the property where I had been held. From the safety of Tom's cabin, I watched the flashing lights reflect off the trees. The kidnappers tried to run, but there was nowhere left to go. They were caught within the hour. And just like that, it was over. At least, that's what I thought. Freedom didn't feel the way I expected. I wasn't celebrating. I was numb. The detective said the men had been involved in a criminal ring for years. I was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, a random victim. My body healed faster than my mind. Nights were the hardest. I'd wake up drenched in sweat, convinced I was back in that basement. Therapy helped. So did talking to Tom. Sometimes, he'd say, "You survived because you refused to stop fighting." Maybe he was right. Months later, I returned to the site where it all happened. The house was empty now, boarded up. I stood there for a long time, just listening to the wind. I realized something that day: I wasn't broken. I was changed. There's a difference. Surviving doesn't mean forgetting. It means living despite remembering. Now, a year later, I help others who've gone through trauma. I volunteer at a local crisis center, and sometimes, I tell my story. Not to relive the pain, but to remind others that no matter how dark it gets, there's always a way out. And maybe that's why I'm sharing this here. Because someone, somewhere, needs to hear it. If you've ever faced something that felt impossible, something that nearly broke you, I want you to know, you can survive too. Tell me in the comments, have you ever been through a moment that changed your life forever? I'd love to hear your story. And if this story moved you, please subscribe and hit the like button. It helps more people find stories that matter, stories that remind us we're stronger than we think.